Okay guys, the time has come. The time is here to film the toughest video of the year, the best books of 2023. Now, I am going to introduce a little bit of twist in this video, so let's go and grab the books and then we can sit down and have a chat because this is gonna be a long one. Ugh. Okay, well, I cannot get them all in one go, so one, and then I'm gonna come back for the second batch. Okay, so the twist, the little spice that I want to season this video with, instead of just selecting the best reads of 2023 or the top 10 books of 2023, honestly, it's like super hard. It's like picking a favorite child. Like, reading is such a complex experience. There is absolutely no way that I could select like top 10 best books of 2023. So instead of doing that, I decided to make certain categories, best of categories, and discuss the top 3 books within each category. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name is Zsuzsi. I am the petite reader and I make weekly bookish video, and today we are discussing the best of the creme de la creme of 2023. Now, if this is something that sounds interesting to you and you like any of my other videos, then I think that you should definitely subscribe. You are welcome here. Okay, now without any further ado, let's start discussing the best books of 2023. In total, I read 131 books in 2023, but this number contains a lot of rereads from 2022 as well as from 2023, so I only read 117 individual books. Let's start with the first category, which is the best new release of 2023. Now, I read insane amount of new releases each year, and it was not different in 2023. As far as new releases go, the number 3 spot goes to Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Wang. The second spot goes to Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Bremer. The number 1 spot goes to none other than Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I know that I am not alone when I say that this book has my heart. What Rebecca Ross did in this book is mind-blowing, and this book is a freaking masterpiece. This book was heartbreakingly beautiful, and I think that the hype that surrounds this book is actually justified. Now, this book is advertised as a YA fantasy romance, and I know that puts a lot of people off, but honestly, even if you don't want to read YA, even if you don't want to read fantasy, even if you don't want to read romance, please give this book a try, because it is such a beautiful, complex book. And in my opinion, this book was very heavily influenced by the First World War, and the characters in this book, the plot in this book, the relationships that are described in this book, everything set in this historical setting, it is truly unique, and you will not regret picking this book up. Now, just in case you don't know what this book is about, this book is a true rivals, hence the title, Divine Rivals, rivals to lovers story that follows 2 journalists, Roman and Iris. They work at the same newspaper, and they are covering the war that rages between 2 gods, but these gods use human troops in their war. They are competing with each other for a promotion of a columnist, and it is a cutthroat environment. And this rivalry takes an unexpected turn when unknowingly they start sending each other's letters through magical typewriters. Now, in this book, it's not enough that the characters were perfect, the plot was perfect, the world was almost perfect. What really had me in this book is Rebecca Ross's writing. I mean, I dog-eared this book so many times, and there are so many different quotes in this book that are just heart-wrenching. And just to share one of my favorite quotes with you guys, I don't think you realize how strong you are, because sometimes strength isn't swords and steel and fire as we are so often made to believe. Sometimes it's found in quiet, gentle places. The way you hold someone's hand as they grieve, the way you listen to others, the way you show up day after day, even when you are weary or afraid or simply uncertain. That is strength. And I see it in you. I mean, come on. I already have the second book in the duology on my TBR card. I cannot wait to be back in this world, and I cannot wait to be back with the characters. I'm also a little bit afraid because the way this book ends, like, I don't know what's going to happen in the second one, but I just hope that Rebecca Ross is not going to like totally break my heart. Okay, next category is the best character of 2023. Now look, I am a character-driven reader. Yes, of course, I like a plot that actually makes sense, but it is truly the characters that grasp me in the stories. So this was a very important category for me. And it's not necessarily about the character design, but I like books that are kind of like character studies, and when we have really nice character development, or just like, you know, unique characters. And if I end up seeing myself in a character, then I'm yours. Now, considering all this, the third place in this category goes to A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. And I know what you're gonna say, Zsuzsi, this is just fairy smut. No. Think twice about it. I mean, yeah, this book is kind of like a fairy smut, but still, I think that this book is a fantastic character study. And if you are somebody who have experienced depression, anger, anxiety, loneliness, sadness, that I truly believe that you will see the value in this book, and you will see the value in Nesta's character. And the second spot goes to Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. The number one spot goes to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. Okay, so this is a fantasy book. This is kind of like a historical fantasy book following a woman in academia. So, you know, to me it was a no-brainer that I had to pick up this book, and I really want to convince you guys to read it, because this book is a divider. There are people who absolutely love it, and then there are people who find it really boring, and honestly, I understand why, but still, I want to convince you to read this book, guys. So this is 1909, and we follow Emily Wilde, who is a professor at Cambridge University, and she is studying the Fae. And we follow her on her travels, doing her academic research, researching the hidden ones. It's more like a darker type of fae. Now, she is not good with people. She is not good with people, but she is willing to put up with the locals so that she can complete her research. And also she is willing to put up with her rival, Wendell, who is super irritating because she wants to complete her Encyclopedia of Fairies. Now look, I was also surprised because I fell head over heels for the character of Emily, because she is that typical misunderstood soul. She is such a relatable character. She is grumpy, she is an introvert, she is bookish and a little bit awkward, but she is so loving, and there is so much heart in this book. Now, I want to share the quotes with you guys when I said that, okay, Emily, I'm yours. Never in my adult life had I had someone looking out for me. Everything that I have wanted or needed doing, I have done myself. And why not? I have never needed rescuing before. I suppose I always assumed that if I ever did, I would have two options: rescue myself or perish. Oh, Emily, oh, I love you. If I could, I would hug her. Now, I also adored the male character in this book, Wendell, because he is everything that Emily is not. He is very outgoing and very extroverted, and because of that, their communication and their banter, in my opinion, is next level, and it was something that was super enjoyable. Now, I know that this category is all about the characters, but just let me mention the world, because I think that when it comes to the Fae, or when it comes to discussing the Fae and describing the Fae, this book describes them mythologically speaking in a correct way, because this book describes fairies as they are, not like, you know, the sexy fae, like the Sarah J. Maas kind of fae. No. They are very wicked, and they are very pranksy and very tricksy, and this whole book is kind of like a darker tone when it comes to the fae, and I read it in the winter, so everything just clicked. I adore this book, and I adore the characters in this book, especially Emily, but the side characters are also cool. Okay, next category is the best debut novel of 2023. Honestly, guys, nobody is more surprised than I am, but I only read 2 debut novels this year. One of them is Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Kwang, and then the other one is The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Bremer. And both of these books, they have me. I cannot believe that these books are new releases, that these books were also debut novels. I am going to keep an eye out for both of these authors in the future. If I had to choose a book as the best debut, then I think that it is Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Kwang. This book had such an effect on me, and I was not prepared for it. But the connection between me and this book, it was truly there. This book follows a nameless Chinese American girl who is a musician. She is a pianist, and she is a very talented pianist, but unfortunate things happen to her, and she needs a job, so she ends up working in this holistic spa where you can get all the latest and certainly the most expensive beauty treatments if you can afford it, and you can be the best version of yourself. Now, Natural Beauty certainly gives you a lot to think about. Just to give you an idea, we discuss immigration in this book, we discuss racism, we discuss the beauty industry, season all of this with sex cults. I think you have an idea. I have no idea how the author discussed so many different topics in this book, and honestly, especially when it comes to discussing immigration, I teared up multiple times reading this book. And that ending, the ending of this book was absolutely perfect. And I need to give a special shout out to the author or the writer of this book. She is a musician herself. I think she is a violinist. And I am going to give her a second special shout out because she mentions Hungarians in the book. She says that Hungarians are one of the best pianists in the world. So that's true. That's true. And thank you, Ling Ling Kwang, for mentioning us. All right, next category is the best book cover of 2023. Now I have a separate video where I discuss the top 10 best book covers of 2023 because, guys, I cannot deny I am shallow like that. If I see a book where the cover is just awesome and colorful and weird, I'm here for it. I'm gonna buy that book. So check that out if you want to see a little bit of more in-depth discussion about my favorite book covers in 2023. But as far as the top 3 goes, the 3rd spot goes to Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. And then the 2nd place goes to The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And then The first spot goes to, and this is gonna be no surprise to many of you who've been following me for a while, but the first spot goes to Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. And this is specifically the UK cover. I've said this many times that I hate the US cover. Don't spend money on the US cover. Buy this book, because this book, not only on the outside but also on the inside, is absolutely freaking amazing. So this book is first in a trilogy that's now finished, and honestly one of my favorite books that I've read this year. Now this book follows Evangeline Fox. She is our main character who makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, Jax, to save her one true love, but she is not prepared for the consequences. I absolutely adored this universe. I mean, when you look at the cover, I think that you know kinda what to expect. It is a very magical and a very enchanted universe. Reading this book feels like reading a fairy tale or just like watching a Disney cartoon. There's everything in this book: love, one true love, curses, prophecies, potions, and the one true love being the point of it all, the end of it all. So, you know, if you're just a little bit romantic, like I am, then I think that you will genuinely enjoy this series. And just to share my favorite quote with you guys from this book: I don't know if I can fix your broken heart, but you can take mine, because it's already yours. I mean, come on. Okay, next category is the best audiobook of 2023. I was able to listen to insane amount of really good quality audiobooks, so selecting the top 3 was actually pretty tough, but I stand by my selection. I stand by my decision. The third spot goes to Zsuzsi by Madeline Miller. Second place goes to Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. And the number 1 spot goes to, and nobody's going to be surprised here, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this book in January, or was it February? I don't remember. And I told you guys that this was gonna be on the list for the best books of 2023. I just knew it, and I stand by my opinion. Now this book follows a fictional rock and roll band, the rise and fall of this rock and roll band, with Daisy Jones being the main typical Taylor Jenkins Reid feminist character. And whoa, this book is so amazing. This book is not just about female empowerment, like, you know, any Taylor Jenkins Reid book. This book expands on a lot of other universal ideas as well, like the exploration of addiction, alcohol and drug addiction, love and relationships, especially female relationships. I, of course, adored Daisy, but I also adored the female relationships and how females were portrayed in this book. So I highly recommend. We connected, this book and we connected, and let me just read you this quote so you will understand exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. Whoa, Daisy is my character. I had absolutely no interest in being somebody else's muse. I am not a muse. I am the somebody. End of fucking story. One of the best quotes. One of the best quotes of 2023. Okay, next category is the best plot of 2023. Now, I've told you guys that I am more like a character-driven reader, and I stand by it. Of course, I enjoy unique plots. I enjoy unforeseen twists and turns. But this year, there were only 2 books, and I cannot decide which book is better. There were only 2 books that really had me when it came to the plots, because I think that they were so insanely unique, and I had no idea reading this book what the author wanted up until like the last like 50 pages. So I highly recommend both of these books. One of them is A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, and then the other one is The Lost House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. Mind-blowing, both of them. Very different books. This is more like a contemporary fiction, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, in the thriller and horror category. And the funny thing about these books is that I don't really want to describe it to you guys what these books are about, because that would ruin the reading experience. Okay, next category is the best fantasy world of 2023. I read insane amount of fantasy this year's, total of 60 books, so about 50% of the books that I read this year, they were fantasy. It is insane. Some worlds and some characters were more interesting than others. It was not really easy for me to come up with the top 3, but I hope that I made the right decision here. So spot number 3 goes to Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. The second spot goes to The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. Now look guys, basically in this book, the kingdom is a bridge. I mean, when I read about it, I was like, wait, what? So maybe it's not interesting for you, but it is certainly interesting to me. And the number 1 spot goes to Siren Queen by Gi Wu. I think the best way to describe this book is to say that this is the LGBTQ version of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And if this is not going to make you pick up this book, then I have no idea what would convince you to pick up this book. In this fantasy world, we are basically back in golden age Hollywood, but in this Hollywood, instead of humans, monsters rule everything. And our protagonist is a young Chinese girl from Hungarian Hill, of course, who would do anything for fame. Anything. And the next category is Best Relationship of 2023. Now this is not just about romance, that is why I'm saying that the best relationship. I read insane amount of romance books this year, okay? But I also found a couple of books where the friendship between characters and even between siblings and parents and children were truly unique. So in this category, the number 3 spot goes to Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. The second spot goes to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And the first spot, without a doubt, goes to A Curious Beginning by Diana Rayborn. I mean, look, I've only read the first book in this series because I think that there are like 7 or 8 books in this series and I cannot wait to read it. This is kind of like a historical mystery series that follows Veronica Speedwell, who is a character of a lifetime. I mean, come on, like, talking about feminism, like Veronica, like, oh my god, Veronica. But what I really like about these murder mystery books is the relationship between Veronica and Stoker, because that banter between the characters and that truly beautiful, authentic friendship that these two characters have, and the fact that they want the best for each other and they don't let each other down and they don't allow anybody else to harm the other one. I love it. I love it. I love the characters. I love the world. I love how insanely feminist this book is. I am picking up the rest of the books in the series this year, for sure. Okay, and now the last category, which is simply the best books of 2023 by genre. I read a lot of different genre, but for this specific category I only selected genres where I read more than 10 books this year. So unfortunately, classics and non-fiction didn't make it in this category because I only read like 3 classic books and 7 non-fiction, so they're not included here, but everything else is. So let's look at the top 3 books by genre. The first genre is general fiction. So here I mean like everything like contemporary and historical fiction. And the number 3 spot goes to Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. Number 2 spot goes to Daisy Jones and the Six. The number 1 spot goes to, and there was no question here, A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. In this book, we follow 2 characters, a Japanese teenager living in Japan and a Canadian Japanese writer, Ruth, who is living in Canada. And somehow, some way, their lives got intertwined, and it is very interesting. Ruth Ozeki, what she did in this book, it was mind-blowing. I read this book in January, I think, and I said in my wrap-up video that this book is going to be one of the best books of 2023, and just like with Daisy Jones, I am standing by my opinion. This is it. This is it. If you don't want to read any other books that I'm recommending to you or we are discussing in this video, please read this one. You are not going to regret it. Now, one thing, Ruth Ozeki is a Zen priest, and there are certain teachings of Buddhism that is discussed in this book. One of the main teachings of Buddhism is to be fully in the present, because the present moment is the only moment we have. So don't spend too much time in the past or in the future. They're not happening. The present is happening. And this book keeps you in the present moment while you are reading it. It is mind-blowing. Okay, next category is probably my favorite category, fantasy and romantasy. The third place goes to Sorcery of Thorns. The number 2 spot goes to Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. And then the first spot, and again this is going to be no surprise, but the first spot goes to A Court in Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And look, I am going to do a favor here, and I'm not going to talk about this book because I feel like that when it comes to this book and when it comes to The Daughter of No Worlds, I feel like that I include those books in every single video, and this is at this stage is overexposure. Plus, I think that like everybody knows about A Court of Thorns and Roses in 2023. But the reason why this book won over every other fantasy and romantasy book that I read this year is because I read this book in March, and I own it that when I started reading this book, I thought that I would hate this book because everybody described it as fairy smut. So I had a certain level of prejudice going into reading this book, and I was wrong. I was wrong. This book has me. Sarah J. Maas has me. The Akatar world, I just eat it all up. I love it. Okay, so the next category is the best thriller and horror of 2023. The third place goes to The Things We Do to Our Friends by Heather Darwent. The second spot goes to Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Huang. And then the first place goes to The Lost House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. Look, I know that this book is a booktube darling, so I don't really need to talk about it in detail. I read this book this year and I am so happy that I did because I needed this book in my life. This book discusses a very complicated topic, but a very important topic. So please read it. It's not going to be easy to read it, but please do. And can I just highlight the cat? Because Olivia, the little kitty cat, she was easily my favorite character in this book. Okay, next genre is short stories or short story collections. I read a lot of short stories and I buy a lot of short story collections. I really enjoy them because sometimes, like everybody else, I struggle with focus and short stories really help me out. And in 2023, the third best short story that I read is Galatea by Madeline Miller. The second spot goes to a reread, Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. And then the number one spot goes to two short stories because guys, I cannot choose. I cannot choose. Don't make me choose because I cannot. One of them is Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin. This is again a reread. I reread this short story every single year. It is free. Please read it. It is about an explorer who comes back to Earth to retrieve a very special material. So it's a sci-fi short story, but honestly, even if you don't like sci-fi, I think that you will still like this short story. I highly recommend. And then the other book is a short story collection, Shoko's Smile by Cho Young, and I hope that I am not butchering her name. Guys, the stories in this book, absolutely top-notch. And this was the first short story collection that this author published. Safe to say that I am picking up her next, whatever she writes, short story collection, novella, novel. I need it in my life. I need it in my life. It's just, oh my God, so good. Please read her short stories. Okay, and the last genre is romance. In this category, this is contemporary and historical romance. No fantasy, no romantasy here. This was really tough to make up my mind what are the top three, but here they are. The third spot goes to Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan. The second place goes to Love Theoretically by Ellie Hazelwood. And then the first place goes to, and this is gonna be no surprise, Any That Just Will Do by Tessa Dare. Tessa Dare showed me this year that I can read and enjoy a historical, smutty romance. This is my first one, and this is not my last one. I liked the romance, I liked the plot, and I adored the characters. I liked the male character as well as the female character, and I really liked the banter. I think it was very funny, but my favorite character was actually the mother-in-law. She was so funny, she cracked me up. I cannot even tell you guys how many times I laughed out loud while reading this book, and nobody around me knew what the hell was happening. So I highly recommend that you pick this book up, even if you don't read historical smutty romance. This book is about Griffin, who is a duke, and he is a bachelor, a very rich bachelor. Now, his mother wants him to get married, but he doesn't want to. No marriage. Now, this is not acceptable for his mother. So what she does is, like literally, she drugs her son. This is no spoiler, it all happens in like the first 5 pages. She drugs her son, puts him in a carriage, and takes him to this location, Spindle Cove, that is full with young ladies who are not exactly accepted by society. And she tells him that, Griffin, you choose a girl, you choose a woman, and I will make a duchess for you out of that woman. Now, Griffin wants to teach a lesson to his mother, so of course he chooses the most problematic young woman who is very opinionated and very headstrong, and our story begins. And I loved it. I loved it. Oh guys, this was so good, so good, and feminist AF. Well, this is it, guys. This is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed spending some time with me. If you did, let me know your opinion. I want to know what was your best book or best books of 2023. What was your favorite fiction? What was your favorite non-fiction? Fantasy, romantasy, thriller, horror. I want to know because I am always looking for new books to add to my 2024 TBR because it's not long enough. It's only 500 books. Hit the thumbs up, and if you are new here, then hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss another upload from me. In the next video, we will discuss every single book that I read in 2023. 117 books. I have no idea how long that video is going to be, but that's what's coming. In the meantime, if you want to check out any of my other videos, I will leave them on the screen, probably here and here, and I see you soon in an upcoming video. Bye!